Hey, what's up guys, it's Pass. Today I'm going to be going over how you could quickly set up your Bitcoin node and your Ord wallet to prepare for runes. And real quick, I do want to acknowledge the fact that Xverse might have day one support for runes. And you might be wondering, am I even going to have an edge when it comes to people who don't run nodes? My answer to that is, I don't know. It really depends on what you value. Personally, for me, I like having my node set up because one, I feel a little bit more connected when it comes to the technology behind ordinals and runes. And I just have like a better understanding. It's nice for that, but I will also state that I will always have that set up just because I know it is very less likely to fail on me. And there have been instances like in the past where third parties, crash or they just stop working momentarily. And, I just want to make sure that no matter what, I am prepped. I'm trying to go for the least amount of error, and setting up a node just allows for that. I am personally going to be doing both if you care about what I'm doing. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way before the rest of the video went on. And real quick, I just want to talk about what runes are. Runes pretty much allows us to create meme coins on Bitcoin. It's through a UTXO model. If you're familiar with that, I've talked about it in previous videos. But yeah, like with anything, I will always say to proceed with caution. This is all pretty much a casino and we're just gambling in it. Requirements for this is at least a 1 terabyte SSD. You could get away with 1 terabyte, but I think a year ago, total storage for a full node was 500 gigabytes. And I think nowadays we're reaching up to 700 gigabytes. So with more time, it's going to require more space, but I guess if you're not planning to use your node for that long, maybe that's not a big issue. It really just depends on your own personal use case. Also, you're going to need a computer, obviously, and a internet connection. Now, I'm going to be going over a Windows setup, so if you have anything else, this may not be helpful for you, but there's probably a lot of information on the Ord Discord server, which is the unofficial official Discord for ordinals. Now, if we go into my link down here, which I'll have in this video description, it'll take you to the Bitcoin Core download website. It is pretty much going to allow you to download the entire blockchain. We're going to click on the link that I just clicked on. Here, I'll go back, click on it again, and you're just going to want to download the version for your system. Now, in my case, it's going to be the Windows 64 zip. And the reason why I choose zip over exe is just because I know with zip, I'm going to be able to take my node anywhere because it's not installed on this computer. It's just, portable versions of these tools. So I'm going to go into my node SSD, and for example's sake, I created a little node example folder here. Yeah, if you want, you could drag in this folder into your SSD. It doesn't matter. For this purpose, I'm just going to open up this folder, and what we're going to want to do is just drag in all of the files that we got from this website onto our SSD. After it's finished, I'm going to go through these steps a little bit quickly, so bear with me. I'm going to right click into this folder. I'm going to hit new, and I'm going to create a new folder, and it's just going to be called Bitcoin. After that, I'm going to go to the Bitcoin folder that we just created, hit copy as path, and then we're going to go into the bin folder, and it's going to contain all the programs needed to run a node. I'm going to go to the Bitcoin D application here, right click it, go to show more options, and then create a shortcut. The reason why we need to create a shortcut is because we're going to right click onto this shortcut, hit properties, and we're going to have the option to mess around with our target, I guess, parameters or flags or whatever you want to call them. If we go into the regular Bitcoin D, as you can see, we do not have that option, but I'm going to go back to the shortcut properties. We're going to come down here to the target, and this is where we're going to put in a few commands that are going to just pretty much make this process easy, make it seamless. We're not going to have to, do too many things. So in here, we're going to do dash data directory equals, and we're going to paste in the path that I just copied that was in our external SSD. Now, if you're downloading this to your main drive, you don't need this, because what the Bitcoin Core applications are going to do is create a node in your program files folder on your hard drive. And what we're pretty much asking it to do is, hey, all of the data that's supposed to, be in our program files now going to go into our SSD. Now that we put that there, the next step we're going to do is dash tx index equals 1. And now we're going to hit apply. And after you set up the shortcut, all you're going to want to do is launch it, and it's going to ask you if you want to, allow public and private networks to access. I'm going to hit sure. Why not? And it's going to start downloading the entire blockchain. Now, a few things to know. If you scroll up here at the beginning, it's going to say whether or not you're on prune mode, setting node network on non-prune mode. That is good. You want to make sure you're not running a prune node. A prune node essentially means that you don't have all of the entire blockchain downloaded, which is bad because Ord requires the usage of all the transactions. Make sure you're on non-prune mode. If you followed what I did, you should already be set on non-prune mode. Right below the non-prune mode, you'll see TX index is enabled. Real quick, I want to go through the importance of the TX index configuration. Well, we have TX indexing off, which it is by default. We're not keeping track of any of the transaction data that has happened across the entire chain. The only thing that we're keeping track of are the transactions that are on the mempool, any watch addresses that you have, and our wallets that are on Bitcoin Core. But if TX indexing is on, it'll keep all the transaction data from all the transactions that have ever happened, which is good for Ord because it needs to reference these transactions when it comes to tracking inscriptions, sats, and now runes. And if you scroll down, you'll see you'll start downloading the entire chain pretty much. And you're going to start off from all the way from 2009. And an easy way to check your block height to see how far along you are within your download. If you go to mempool.space, you'll see what the latest block is that has passed. So right now we've passed block 837,165. If we go into our node, as you can see, we're only at a block height of 4,170. So we have, a whole 833,000 blocks left. So it's going to take a minute. Let's say you need to close out your Bitcoin Core, right? Or Ord Wallet, same command. It's going to be the same command for both. All you need to do is press Control and C. And as you can see, it'll stop and it's going to take a little bit. And then eventually it'll just close out the window. When you're using Ord Wallet, it's not going to close out the window, but it's going to start a new line where you're going to be able to type again. That's when you'll know when Ord has fully closed out. And while I wait, I'm just going to quickly show. Oh, it closed actually, but if we go in here, it'll show off that it did start downloading on the correct place, which is on our SSD. So perfect. We know it was doing it right from the checks that we did when we were checking the command prompts itself. We knew our node was on non-prune mode, and we knew that we were also indexing the transactions. So as long as you're doing that, let it run. It's gonna be a minute. It could take you a day, could take you 2 days. I'm gonna delete this example now because I don't need it. I'm gonna go into my actual Bitcoin node folder. I'm just gonna let it run. I'm gonna let it catch up real quick. I'll go over downloading Ord. I think I already have the download here, but if we go to the Ordinals GitHub, we'll be able to go to the releases, and we now see that 0.17 is out. In order to actually download it, all you're going to want to do is click on the release number, scroll down, and then we'll have different options depending on our OS. I already have mine downloaded, but I'm going to go back in. I'm going to open up the zip file and go to my Ord folder. All you need to do is simply copy over what's in the zip file and paste it into your Ord folder and replace any files that are necessary. But another step that you have to also take into account is you need to download the index.redb file for Ord. Now, for Windows, what you need to do is go and click on your Windows tab, hit %app data, scroll down until you see Ord, and then you'll see right here that you have a index.redb file. All you need to do is just right click, just delete it. It's like, show more options, delete, there we go. But once you have your index file deleted, you just want to go back into your Ord folder, click up here, hit delete on anything that was typed, type in CMD, hit enter, and it's going to open up a command prompt within this folder. So assuming that you are running all of this off of an SSD and you have your Bitcoin node on your SSD, you're going to want to go into your Bitcoin folder, come over here to the cookie file, right click the cookie file, hit copy as path. Then you're going to want to go into your Ord command prompt window. We're going to simply type in the commands to start the indexing process. Now, what we're going to need to do is add a flag for where my cookie file is at. So as you can see here, I just do --cookie-file space, and then I paste in where the cookie file is at. The next command I'm going to do is --index-runes. I'm going to follow that up with --index-sats. I don't believe it's necessary for runes, but honestly, might as well, right? Might as well also include this index in, just so it's all fully in. And then we're going to do the command server. Now, something that is new within Ord 0.16.0 is the Ord server command, and it's pretty much allows us to run a local server for ordinals, and it's now a requirement whenever you want to input Ord commands. And real quick, I want to give a big shout out to the Shared Delusion Index, which makes ordinals indexing extremely easy. Pretty much they just host the files for the index for any new versions that come out that require a reindex. So we have the version with sats and runes, we have a version without any sats or runes, we also have Signet and testnet. So big shout out to Greg. He's been doing this since the very early days of Ord, just hosting his own index. I always will recommend just running your own index just because it's a lot safer, and I don't know, you also, I feel like it's just an important, step to go through, but if you want to take a shortcut, feel free to use this. I'll also have the link to this down below. And once Ord has finished indexing, you'll see that there's no loading bar, and we actually can't even type in here anymore. So we have to go back into our Ord folder, type in CMD to open up a command prompt. And now we could do our regular Ord command. So I'm going to do Ord -- cookie - file, the cookie path, and then wallet create. You're going to get a seed phrase. Make sure to save the seed phrase, preferably on a sheet of paper, but that's just me. And now we could do the Ord wallet receive command, and we'll receive an address that we could fund our wallet with. And you could fund your wallet however you want. I know there's sites like SimpleSwap, which you could just send out Ethereum or Solana and it'll swap it to Bitcoin. You could also use exchanges, but I do know that Coinbase specifically uses a legacy address when it comes to Bitcoin, and I don't think there's compatibility when it comes to sending from legacy to Taproot, or at least when using Coinbase, it doesn't let you send to Taproot from what I remember, but things could be different, who knows. However, you may be wondering, what are the actual commands to mint or etch runes? Well, that is a good question. So I'm now going to show you how you could mint or etch runes on your own. So I'm going to be doing this all on Signet, which is pretty much just a chain where we could test things. So if I go into my Bitcoin D and add the parameter -signet, it's now going to create a Signet node, and we're just going to let this run. Thankfully, if you do want to try this out, it's not as hard as the mainnet node, but we're going to let it run, and we're also going to open up a command prompt in our Ord wallet and do our regular commands. However, this time I have to go into the Signet folder in the Bitcoin folder, which is, it's going to be created automatically. And we're going to take this cookie path and go back to our Ord, it has our Signet cookie, and we're going to do the command --index -runes -index -sats and --signet and then server. So I'm going to run the command. It's going to start indexing. I've already indexed mine, so it's not going to take too long, thankfully. And we're going to just do the same command, --cookie -file space, path to our cookie file, and then wallet create. At this point, it'll create a wallet for Signet, and then if you want, you could do wallet receive, or actually I have to wait. I have to wait a little bit, but you do wallet receive, it'll generate an address, and yeah. So you just look up a Signet faucet, but pretty much this is just going to give you a small amount of Bitcoin in Signet, which is worthless, by the way. Okay, so just to let you know, but yeah, it'll just give you a small amount of Bitcoin, so you could just mess around and, you know, submit transactions and things like that. One thing I totally forgot to say, you do need to add the the flag --signet at the start after specifying your cookie file. Yeah, I messed up for me for, you know, valid reason, but yeah, I think in a little bit I'm gonna receive some Signet Bitcoin, which I think I already do, actually. I'm pretty sure I still have some. Yeah, okay. All right, so real quick, I'm gonna go through the YAML batch file for creating a rune. I'm gonna ignore the mode because it's not too important. I think just having it set at separate output is fine. Etching, now that just describes pretty much the creation of the rune process. Rune is the rune name. Divisibility is, it's kind of hard to explain, but think of it in terms of the divisibility of the rune in tenths. So instead of just being restricted to whole numbers, we could go into tenths. If we do divisibility by 2, we'll have hundredths, and then 3, we have thousandths. For this example, I'm just gonna do 0. Pre-mine essentially just means how many runes do I want for myself, which I might actually, here, I might change this to 100 for funsies. Apply is pretty self-explanatory, just how many runes or how many tokens are in a rune. The symbol is pretty self-explanatory, but it is just a 1 Unicode text symbol, and for this case I'm just going to do the Ord logo. Now we're going to start getting into like the terms of things, which is just how many mints are we going to allow for rune to have. So in this example, I have a cap of 10, meaning that people can only mint 10 times. However, I should actually change this to 9, and I'll explain that a little bit later because I just changed the pre-mine. Up here, we'll go into offset. You could set 2 different things for offset. So you could have a start offset, which pretty much says when a mint is open, and an end offset for specifying when a mint should end on a certain block. For example, I have an offset end of 1,000, meaning that 1,000 blocks after that my rune is created, it will end the mint no matter what, even if we don't reach the cap. And you could do the same thing with the start start offset saying, oh, I want my start offset to be 1,000, meaning that it won't start until 1,000 blocks have passed from the transaction that I made to create the rune. Another thing you could do is set the specific start height or end height. You could do amount, which I have down here. Amount just pretty much means how many runes can be minted in one transaction. So in this case, I've set it to 100, which means that it should only be possible to have a cap of 9, because 9 times 100 is 900, plus the pre-mine will equal our supply. So yeah, before I had it to 10 because 10 transactions would just fill up the supply, but since I added a pre-mine of 100, it'll now only be 9 because I'm taking 100 of the supply to myself. And yeah, that's practically it. There's also one last line where you could add an inscription. Very cool stuff, very cool. Now I am going to take this file, I'm going to copy as path, and then I'm going to go back into my Ord client, and the command I'm going to do is -- cookie file wallet batch, and I think we need to add -- batch, and then I'll add a fee rate for fun, I guess. And real quick, make sure you do not have any quotation marks in your inscription file, and make sure that you don't exceed 1024 bytes. And I still exceed. Did I save it? Oh, there we go. Okay, I just didn't save it. I'm pretty sure we have to wait like 6 blocks now for this to show up, but as soon as it does happen, we should see our rune show up. All right, and as you can see here, our rune has been created. And if we go in here, we see everything's pretty much set up. It's all the way down here. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how you etch a rune. And when we look at our balance, we could also see our rune balance, which is pretty cool. So now you might be wondering, Paz, how do we actually mint the runes? Okay, that's all I care about. Hey, I got you. So all I'm gonna do is this command right here. So Ord, cookie file parameter, Signet parameter, wallet space mint space the fee rate, which I mean doesn't really matter here, but I'm gonna add it, just add it, and then -- rune space, and then the rune name. And so once we hit enter, you can see we have submitted a transaction. And I think if we do more, we're able to do it 2 times. I think we can do it one more time, again and again and again. But yeah, once the next block passes, it should be minted out. Let me see how many times I did it. And yeah, it looks like I sent out 12 transactions, which means that 3 of them are going to be invalid since I've already pre-mined 100. And if you actually have seen a previous video of mine on how you could fast inscribe, I'm pretty sure you could implement the same things onto here. Now we're just going to wait for this block to go through. All right, and our transaction did go through. So if I hit balance, as you can see, I now own all of subscribe to Paz and GMI token, which woohoo. And real quick, I want to show off what happens if you try to mint a rune that has already been minted out. So you can see here, it says error rune subscribe to Paz and GMI limited to 9 mints. But yeah, that is pretty much the entire runes setup guide. Hopefully it was helpful. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to hop on my Discord, discord.gg/ordinalfaces. I'll be there to answer any questions. And just to let you know, this video one day might become obsolete, just like my previous video was. So if anything, if things update, if things change, which they probably will, I will always recommend to look at the actual official like docs or the GitHub for ordinals, or just go on the Ord Accord. I'll leave the link to the Discord below for that. Yeah, usually there's a lot of updated information there. That's pretty helpful. But hope you guys have a good day and good luck with your runes degen journey.